Hello everyone, welcome to Lockdown with Hari. Beyond Redwalls of CEG அப்படிங்கிற சீரீஸ் ஆஃப் இன்டர்வியூஸ்ல ஒவ்வொரு எபிசோட்லயும் சிஇஜில இருந்து வெளியில வந்த இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் பர்சனாலிட்டிஸ் பார்த்து பேசிட்டு இருக்கோங்க. அண்ட் வி ஆர் இன் அவர் 15th எபிசோட், விச் இஸ் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் உமன் இன்ஜினியர் ஃப்ரம் இந்தியா, a tribute by Shantha Mohan. ஸோ நம்ம சின்ன வயசுல இருந்தே இந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எவர் அப்படிங்கிற கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வந்து நம்ம நிறைய கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கோம்ல. Who was the first ever person to land on moon? Or who was the first ever person to reach 10,000 scores in cricket? Or who was the first ever person to beat some Guinness record? ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எவர் கொஸ்டின்ஸ் நிறைய வந்துட்டே இருக்கும். இதே மாதிரி ஒரு கொஸ்டின் நான் உங்கள்கிட்ட கேட்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறேங்க. Who was the first ever woman engineer from India? And do you know where she graduated from? உங்களுக்கு ஆன்சர் தெரியல, நான் ஒரு க்ளூ கொடுக்குறேன். Read it here. Yes, CEG. So Guindy Engineering College தான் வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எவர் உமன் இன்ஜினியர் ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணுது in the year 1943, before independence. So and her name is Lalitha. So இப்போ நம்ம எல்லாமே லாக்டவுன் பீரியட்ல இருக்கனால நிறைய பேர் we have been watching so many moviesல, and recently I watched a movie called Shakuntala Devi. It's a biopic about Shakuntala Devi, mathematician. ஸோ அதே மாதிரி ஒரு பயோபிக் ஒர்த்தான ஒரு கான்டென்ட் உள்ள ஸ்டோரியை தான் இப்போ உங்களுக்கு நான் சொல்ல போறேன். இப்போ நம்ம 2020ல இருக்கோம். ஐ வாண்ட் டு டேக் யூ ஆல் பேக் டு 100 years. ஸோ 1919 ஒரு 100 வருஷம் முன்னாடி நம்ம இருக்கிறத நீங்க இமேஜின் பண்ணிக்கங்க. அப்போ சதர்ன் பார்ட் ஆஃப் இந்தியாவில வந்து ஒரு பெண் குழந்தை பிறக்கிறாங்க. அவங்களுக்கு பேர் லலிதா. ஸோ இந்த லலிதா பிறந்தவங்க வந்து 15 வயசுலயே அவங்களுக்கு கல்யாணம் ஆகுது. ஸோ 15 வயசுல அப்படின்னா கிட்டத்தட்ட நீங்க ஒரு 9th ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் 10th ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் படிப்பீங்க. 9th 10th படிக்கிற அந்த பொண்ணுக்கு வந்து கல்யாணம் பண்ணி வச்சிடுறாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் அவங்களுக்கு பேபி வந்துடுறாங்க. அவங்களுக்கு கையில குழந்தை வந்த பிறகு வந்து அன்பார்ச்சுனேட்லி அவங்க கணவர் வந்து இறந்துடுறாங்க அவங்களுக்கு 18 வயசு இருக்கும்போது. ஸோ ஷி காட் மேரிட் அட் த ஏஜ் ஆஃப் 15 and she got a baby in hand and she lost her husband at the age of 18. ஸோ ஒரு 18 வயசு பொண்ணுக்கு வந்து என்ன பண்றதுன்னு அடுத்த லைஃப்ல தெரியாம இருக்கிறப்போ கையில ஒரு குழந்தை வேற இருக்கு. ஸோ அப்ப அவங்க எடுத்த டிசிஷன் வந்து டு பிகம் அன் இன்ஜினியர். யோசிச்சு பாருங்க என்ன ஒரு இன்ஸ்பைரிங் ஸ்டோரி இல்ல. 1943ல அவங்க கிராஜுவேட் ஆகுறப்போ கூட இருந்த படிச்சவங்க எல்லாருமே மென். அப்ப அந்த ப்ரொஃபசர்ஸ் சரி, கூட இருந்த கிளாஸ்மேட் சரி, பாக்கி எல்லாரு பேருக்குமே வந்து இது ரொம்ப புதுசு. ஏன்னா there was no other women before, so she was the first ever woman. ஸோ அப்போ வந்து நிறைய சர்ப்ரைசிங்கான விஷயங்கள், நிறைய கஷ்டங்கள், நிறைய லேர்னிங்ஸ், இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய விஷயம் நடந்துச்சு. அதுல ஒரு ஃபன் ஃபேக்ட் வந்து நான் படிச்சது என்னன்னா, அப்போ கிண்டி இன்ஜினியரிங் காலேஜ்ல வந்து கிராஜுவேஷன் கொடுக்குற அந்த கிராஜுவேஷன் சர்டிபிகேட்ல வந்து ஆல் ப்ரொனவுன்ஸ் வர் ஹி. ஸோ ஏன்னா அதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து விமன் இருந்தது இல்லை, எல்லாமே மென். ஸோ கிராஜுவேஷன் சர்டிபிகேட்லேயே வந்து ஹி அப்படிங்கிற ப்ரொனவுன் தான் இருக்கும். ஸோ லலிதாக்கு கிராஜுவேஷன் சர்டிபிகேட் கொடுத்தாகணும் அப்படிங்கிற பட்சத்துல வந்து ஹி அப்படிங்கிறத லிட்டரலி அவங்க வந்து கிராஸ் பண்ணி அடிச்சுட்டு ஹி அப்படிங்கிற புது வார்த்தையை ஆட் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க அந்த சர்டிபிகேட்ல. என்னங்க பயங்கர இன்ஸ்பைரிங் ஸ்டோரியில லலிதாவோடது. அதே மாதிரி அந்த புக்ல 29 இன்ஸ்பைரிங் இன்ஜினியரிங் விமனை பத்தி அந்த புக் ஃபுல்லா இருந்தது. அந்த புக் இஸ் கால்ட் ரூட்ஸ் அண்ட் விங்ஸ் அண்ட் இட்ஸ் ரிட்டன் பை சாந்தா மோகன். ஸோ இந்த ரூட்ஸ் அண்ட் விங்ஸ் அப்படிங்கிற புக் வந்து சாந்தா மோகன் வந்து எழுத ஆரம்பிச்சப்போ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் விமன் இன்ஜினியர் ஸ்ரீல இருந்து வந்தவங்க 1943 அதுல இருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சு ஒவ்வொரு வருஷமும் வந்து வெளியில வந்து இன்ஸ்பைரிங் விமன் இன்ஜினியர்ஸோட கதைகளை வாங்கி அந்த புக்கா போடுறாங்க. ஸோ இட்ஸ் அ கலெக்ஷன் ஆஃப் விமன் இன்ஜினியர் ஸ்டோரி ஃப்ரம் 1943 to 1971 who graduated from Guindy Engineering College. One of the best books I've ever read. இது வந்து ஒரு 3 தடவையாவது படிச்சிருப்பேன். ஏன்னா இட்ஸ் நாட் ஜஸ்ட் இன்ஸ்பைரிங். எனக்கு வந்து பின்னாடி ஒரு 100 வருஷம், ஒரு 150 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி கூட்டிட்டு போகுது. அப்ப இருந்த கல்ச்சர் என்ன, அப்போ வந்து என்ன நம்ம காலேஜ் ஆஃப் இன்ஜினியரிங் இந்தியில இருந்தது, இப்போ என்ன சேஞ்சஸ் ஆயிருக்கு, அண்ட் ஹவு ஐ எம் ப்ரிவிலேஜ் டு பி தேர். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி எல்லா விஷயங்களும் அந்த புக் படிச்சுதான் எனக்கு தெரிய வந்துச்சு. ஸோ இதை நீங்க பார்த்துட்டு இருக்க சிஜில இருந்து படிக்கிற ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸா இருந்தாலும் சரி, சிஜில வெளியில வந்த அலுமினியா இருந்தாலும் சரி, பெண்களா இருந்தாலும் சரி, ஆண்களா இருந்தாலும் சரி, ஐ ஐ ஐ சஜஸ்ட் யூ டு give it a read. It's called Roots and Wings, written by Shantha Mohan. அந்த புக்கோட லிங்கை வந்து நான் வந்து கீழே டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ல போட்டிருக்கேன். ஸோ நீங்க அமேசான்ல மற்ற இதுல வேணாலும் பேப்பர் பேக்கோ கிண்டல்லையோ வாங்கி அதை படிக்கலாம். அண்ட் ஒன் மோர் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் திங், ஸோ இந்த புக்ல இருந்து வர எல்லா ரெவன்யூமே வந்து ப்ரிவிலேஜ் இல்லாத, ஸ்கூலுக்கு கூட ஃபீஸ் கட்ட முடியாத குழந்தைங்களுக்கு வந்து போற மாதிரி நம்ம சாந்தா மோகன் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்காங்க. ஸோ நீங்க வாங்குற ஒவ்வொரு புக்குமே வந்து அந்த அதுல இருந்து வர ரெவன்யூ வந்து ஏதோ ஒரு பெண் குழந்தைக்கு வந்து நம்ம இந்தியாவில இருக்க குழந்தைங்களுக்கு போய் சேர போகுதுங்கிறத ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. ஓகே, ஸோ லெட்ஸ் டாக் அபவுட் சாந்தா மோகன். யார் இந்த சாந்தா மோகன்? ஸோ நான் இந்த லாக்டவுன் வித் ஹரில இந்த பியாண்ட் ரெட்வால்ஸ் ஆஃப் சிஇஜி அப்படிங்கிறது பண்றதுக்கு இருந்த ஒரு ஒன் ஆஃப் தி மோஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன்ஸ் வந்து சாந்தா மோகன். ஏன்னா இப்போ நான் ஒரு 3-4 மாசமா தான் இந்த வீடியோஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். அவங்க 1.5 வருஷம், க்ளோஸ் டு 2 years இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கிற எல்லாரோட ஸ்டோரிஸ் கலெக்ட் பண்ணி இப்போ யோசிச்சு பாருங்க. we are talking about people who graduated from 1943. ஸோ அவங்க வந்து நிறைய பேர் வந்து உயிரோட இல்லை, கம்மியான பேர் தான் உயிரோட இருக்காங்க. ஸோ அவங்களோட ஸ்பௌசஸையும் அவங்க சில்ட்ரனையும் கான்டாக்ட் பண்ணணும், அவங்கள பத்தின ஸ்டோரிஸ் கலெக்ட் பண்ணணும், பிக்சர்ஸ் அது இதெல்லாம் கலெக்ட் பண்ணி இந்த ஸ்டோரி, இந்த 29 பெண்களை பத்தி ஸ்டோரி எழுதுறது வந்து இட்ஸ் நாட் ஆல் ஈஸி. ஸோ இந்த வீடியோ பண்ற எனக்கே வந்து இவ்வளவு கஷ்டமா இருக்கு வித் ஆல் திஸ் நெட்வொர்க்ஸ் அண்ட் கனெக்ஷன்ஸ். பட் அவங்களுக்கு வந்து இட் வுட் ஹவ் பீன் கம்பல்சன். சாந்தா வந்து கிண்டி இன்ஜினியரிங் காலேஜ்ல படிச்சு முடிச்சுட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து ஷி காட் மேரிட் அண்ட் தென் ஷி ஹேட் அ பேபி அண்ட் தென் ஷி மூவ் டு தி யூஎஸ். ஸோ யூஎஸ் போன பிறகு கையில குழந்தை வச்சுட்டு அவங்க வந்து கார்னிகி மெல்லன்ல வந்து பிஹெச்டி படிக்கிறாங்க. ஸோ 80 to 85 வந்து கார்னிகி மெல்லன்ல வந்து அவங்க பிஹெச்டி வந்து ஆப்ரேஷன் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட்ல படிக்கிறாங்க. ஸோ 1975 மேல யூஎஸ் போயிட்டு அங்க செட்டில் ஆகிட்டு ஹார்ட்வேர்ல ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒர்க் பண்றாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் கொஞ்ச நாள் கழிச்சு சாஃப்ட்வேர்ல மூவ் ஆறாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து ஷீ இஸ் கோஃபவுண்டிங் அ கம்பெனி கால்ட் ரீட்டெயில் சொல்யூஷன்ஸ். ஸோ சாஃப்ட்வேர்ல ஹார்ட்வேர்ல ரெண்டுலேயுமே கிடைச்ச எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் வச்சு அவங்க சிலிக்கான் வேலியில வந்து ரீட்டெயில் சொல்யூஷன்ஸ் அப்படிங்கிற கம்பெனி வந்து கோஃபவுண்ட் பண்றாங்க. ஸோ அந்த கம்பெனி ரொம்ப நாள் நல்லா போயிட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து ரிட்டையர் ஆகிறாங்க. ரிட்டையர் ஆன பிறகு வந்து ஷி ஆல்வேஸ் வாண்ட் டு கிவ் பேக் சம்திங் டு த கம்யூனிட்டி. ஸோ அவங்க படிச்ச கார்னிகி மெல்லன் யூனிவர்சிட்டி அண்ட் இந்தியன் இன்ஜினியரிங் காலேஜ் ரெண்டுக்குமே வந்து நிறைய திருப்பி கொடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஷி ஹஸ் பீன் டூயிங் லாட் ஆஃப் மென்டர்ஷிப் ப்ரோக்ராம். ஸோ இதுல ரெண்டு இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் திங் ஐ வாண்ட் டெல் யூ கைஸ். ஸோ ஒன் இஸ் ஏஐசிஜி. ஸோ சிஇஜியோட அலும்னை அசோசியேஷன் வந்து நம்ம காலேஜ் ஆஃப் இன்ஜினியரிங் கிண்டி கேம்பஸ்குள்ள இருக்கு. ஸோ அண்ட் தேர் டூயிங் லாட் ஆஃப் ஸ்டெப். ஸோ சிகானா அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து நார்த் அமெரிக்கால உள்ள சிஇஜிஎன்ஸ் வந்து கனெக்ட் பண்றதுக்கான ஒரு நெட்வொர்க். ஸோ ஷீ இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் தி ஆக்டிவ் மெம்பர்ஸ் இன் சிகானா. ஸோ அதுல நிறைய, ஸோ இஃப் யூஆர் இன் த யூஎஸ், இஃப் யூஆர் இன் நார்த் அமெரிக்கா, ஸோ ப்ளீஸ் ரீச் அவுட் டு Shantha Mohan or please reach out to CEGAANA for networking, or if you have any idea for a startup and if you're looking for some funding, or if you're looking for some job, or if you want to switch your career from A to B, or your postgraduate, anything, be it anything, CEGAANA network will help you for sure. ஸோ அதே மாதிரி வந்து சிஇஜியில் இப்போ படிச்சிருக்க ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து இந்த மாதிரி சீனியர்ஸ்க்கு வந்து எப்படி நிறைய இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் கேதர் பண்றது, அந்த வெபினார்ஸ் எப்படி அட்டன் பண்றது, இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய விஷயம் தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும் அப்படின்னா ஆஸ்க் சிஇஜிஎன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு போர்ட்டல் இருக்கு. அதுல யூ கேன் ஆஸ்க் எனி கொஸ்டின்ஸ் அண்ட் யூ கேன் ரீச் அவுட் எனி சிஇஜிஎன்ஸ். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி எல்லா லிங்க்ஸையும் வந்து இந்த வீடியோ டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ல போட்டிருக்கேன், அதை போயிட்டு கண்டிப்பா படிங்க. பிஃபோர் ஃபர்தர் டியூ, லெட்ஸ் ஆல் ஜம்ப் இன்டு அவர் கான்வர்சேஷன் வித் Shantha Mohan. Thank you. Hi Shantha, welcome to Beyond Redwalls of CEG. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Hari?
I don't know how you derive all this energy that you have with you. It's not like once or twice. Whenever I see you, whenever I talk to you, like you have this whole energy thing going on. Please tell us a secret.
I don't know how to explain that. It comes from within, right? It's one of those things where you always want to be active, want to do things. And for me, it used to be that I was so involved in my company and all my energy went into it. And once I retired from that company, I found channels to, send my energy into. And one of them was my grandkids. I have 3 grandkids. So that's one. The other is I really looked at where I was and what was the reason why I was there. And to me, my education was one of the things that I felt gave me the platform on which to stand and then to do all the things that I have done so far. And so I felt I had to give back to the institutions that brought me to where I am. And therefore, College of Engineering, my undergraduate, Alma mater, and Carnegie Mellon University, my postgraduate alma mater. And I wanted to give my energy, and I have a lot of energy. So there you go.
I mean, you haven't still told the secret mantra of your energy, but I will ping you later. I get the secret from you though. So, Shantha, so as I told in the introduction, you are my first ever inspiration to, start this whole Beyond Redwalls of CEG thing, because I'm just a beginner, but you have already, you are a pioneer in the space. So you have met so many people, and you are part of CEGAANA, and you have written a book, Roots and Wings, inspiring stories of, women engineers from CEG. I told, let's start with Roots of Wings book first. So I want to share, I want to have this interview as bringing back memories from the past. So I have taken some photos to share with you, and then you can talk about those, please.
Sure. So Lalita has the distinction of being the first woman engineer in India in the press.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look back, there were 3 girls who graduated in 1943 from College of Engineering,
Okay.
the first batch to graduate, the first women to graduate. And she was a widow. So she was a teenager at the time when she had had her baby, and 4 months from when she had her baby, she lost her husband. Lucky for her, her father was a professor in CEG, and he felt that she needed something to stand on her own feet. She didn't want her to be dependent on anybody else. And so they talked about what does she want to do in terms of professional education. Lalita felt that doing medicine, which was, the common thing for women to do in those days. Even women doctors were a rarity, but it was the done thing. If you were a woman, you weren't thinking about engineering at all. There was no such thing. So, she thought about medicine, and she felt that was probably not the right profession for her because she also had a young daughter to raise. So she said, how about engineering? And with her father's help, she joined the engineering college, graduated, and went on to hold a position in engineering. And the whole family rallied around her. You know how it is in our Indian families, right?
Yeah.
We all help each other, and even distant relatives are there to help you. So she went on this path of becoming an engineer. She held a good position. And what is more important is she actually had the motivation to go to conferences that were organized by women engineers. So Society of Women Engineers was instrumental in furthering the career of women engineers, and she went to that conference. So that picture that you showed is from that conference of women who went there. And then she also brought it back to India. So she started the chapter in India and was active in it. And while doing all of this, she was also raising her daughter. So that's the story behind Lalita. And Lalita's daughter, Syamala, lives in the US. And she was so helpful in turning over all the articles that she had about her, all her pictures. And that was the start. So I started with one blog about Lalita. And once I did that, I was hooked. I said, I'm going to walk through, from the first set of women engineers from CEG all the way to mine. I had to draw the line somewhere because I knew otherwise I'll keep going. So I stopped where my batch, those who graduated in 1971.
Cool.
So I decided to write about them, and then I went about it.
Yeah, that's how it all started. That was so fascinating, Shantha. So when I was reading your book, Roots of Wings, so this one really caught my eye. So I want to share that picture again with you.
Yeah.
So CEG had to literally remove the word he from their printed certificates and replace it with she for Lalita, Teresa, and Leelaman when they got graduated. Oh my God. So I also have taken this actual certificate. So
Right. Yeah, you can see that the word he is struck out.
Yeah.
And they had to handwrite she.
Yeah. So here and here, 1943. So we are talking about the period which was before independence, right? So it's not only about studying something. The whole culture and everything was totally different from whatever we are right now. So I mean, can you tell about some interesting facts or things that you learned from your life or from your guest on your book in those times?
So let's talk about the 1940s. In those days, as I said, thinking about engineering education for women was not even in the picture, right?
Yeah.
So they were a rarity. And as time progressed and it came to my generation, I don't want to call it a generation, in my set of people, those who went to school in the 60s. for example. There were more women, but they were still rarity. So when I was in my first year in CEG, my batch was probably the largest batch of women. We were 8 girls.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but before me, the batch was only 3 or 4. And so when we were in CEG, I came from Madurai. So basically, I had to find a place to live.
Okay.
And I had to make sure that I was self-sufficient in terms of taking care of myself and going to CEG. We didn't have hostel for women in those days. Okay. So we had an arrangement with the Women's Polytechnic.
Okay.
And we got to stay, those of us who came from outside.
So when you said, so you were the largest batch in CEG with respect to, women counts, it was just 8, right? So, I still remember in my batch, 2008, 2012. So in mechanical department, there were only 2 girls. It was crazy, right? If you think in terms of the issues. So, how was it, when you were with, bunch of different guys? Was there, so we talk about all this, women equality, male chauvinism, and, all these things now, right? So how was it then? And were men actually, being so helpful to girls in those days? And how was it overall, Shantha?
So if you look at a population, there are always people who are very supportive.
Yeah.
And then there are those who are very skeptical and are not supportive. And we had our share of the same. So there were a lot of boys, men, who were very supportive. They looked upon the women as a force that is kind of energizing for them to be in the campus. And so we had a lot of boys who were good friends, if you will. But then there were those who kind of looked, they came from, I want to say, very traditional background where woman's place is at home. And why are they here? What are they doing? Why are they studying engineering? And, if you remember, you have a certain set of seats that are available for entering CEG. And they felt that women were taking away what could be the livelihood for some men. And I don't blame them. I mean, it's how that, thinking was in those days. So we had both types. There were great supporters, and there were also some who were not so good. And, the way some of the, non-support activities manifest is, sort of ragging or calling names or things like that. But, you kind of, at least for me, now that I'm so much older, I look back and say, yeah, so what, just
part and parcel of being in college.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you were the one in the first, right, from left.
Right.
Oh my God, you look so different in the Shantha.
66 to 71. We had 5-year programs then.
Okay, so 66 to 71.
Right.
So this is with your hostel warden. So the woman, the third woman from left is your hostel warden.
The one next to me is Rajeshwari.
Okay.
Yeah, she became the principal of Women's Polytechnic, in Coimbatore and in Chennai. And later on, she was the head of the department in an engineering college in Coimbatore. Okay. And she actually went on to do her PhD while she was actually teaching as well. So that was her background. And the one on the other side is Radha. And she became a controller of exams in university. So she went a different route. She went into banking. And so you can see, even though you may have an engineering education, people go into all kinds of fields. And we know this from all the people you've been talking to.
Yeah. So, Shantha, so we are talking about the picture that was taken 50 years back, literally.
Yeah.
Right? So, oh my God. So, please take us back to 50 years back. Then CEG. So, how was it? So,
the first thing is the presence of girls. Obviously, we were a rarity. We were, a handful in a campus of hundreds of students, right? And I can imagine now if half the population is women,
Yeah.
oh, that would be fantastic. I wish we had it at that time, the camaraderie, the working together and all of that. The other thing is that we had something called a ladies' room,
Okay.
a restroom for ladies, which was very close to the principal's room.
Okay.
And, we all would go to classes and come back and stay there and do our homework or, rest and have lunch and all of that. But I'm sure that things are very different for girls now. They probably have better places to congregate, and they also have the hostels, right? We never had hostel for women as long as I was there. So in terms of one incident that comes to me when I was in CEG is the fact that we were all in the ladies' room, doing whatever we were doing. And then this was Holy Day, and a lot of boys burst into it and started, doing the holy thing. They were throwing the colors. And I was just terrified because coming from a city like Madurai, I have never experienced Holi, and this was my first experience of Holi. So I'm sure there were a lot of such incidents, but that one stuck in my mind.
Back to Roots of Wings. So you chose 29 women, including you, to write about their stories, their personal and professional life and everything. So tell us the journey of, writing this book. So why did you choose only these women? And, it must have been so hard for you to find all of these women and their stories. I know some people are not alive now, so you had to contact their, spouses or children to get their stories and whatnot. So please tell us, the journey of writing this whole book.
So the 29 women, actually, what I went about doing was to actually get the number of women in each year. So if you see, the first three are from 43, and then we had May George. She was a single woman in her batch. So if you look at the way this is laid out, it's by year. So I actually got almost everybody.
Okay.
Up until 71. The people I missed were two people from my batch, 1971, because I couldn't get hold of them. And there were a couple in the in-between batches that I couldn't get. But by and large, I got almost everybody from 1943 to 1971. And that's how the 29 women came to be.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and each of them have done different things with their life. Look at every one of them. Each one of them have stories to tell, right? How they accomplished what they did. And one thing that is important to say, they couldn't have done it with the support of the families. And that's the great thing about our Indian families, right? We support each other. The husbands support the wives support husbands whenever it's needed. And then it goes beyond that into the extended family. So aunts and uncles, they all take up whatever slack that is there and help. And I think the important thing is fathers believed that their daughters can do everything that a son can do. My father certainly did. He never said you can't do this or that. We were 7 girls in our family, and he basically said you can either get married or you can study. And I and my older sister and my younger sister, we all chose to study because the system was also changing. There were more things for women to do than just get married, if you will. And so I want to say that fathers gave the girls the support they needed to do whatever they wanted to do. And then the families from then on, the husbands and the extended families supported and said, she can do this and she can go do whatever she wants.
Awesome,
Yeah.
Shantha. So I also read in your blog that you're not taking the revenue that comes out of the book. So you are basically donating that revenue to to women's
Yes.
education. So can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. When I wrote this book, I actually wanted to give girls role models, because engineering is still not very well known as a profession for girls, even though in CEG we are, almost half the population as women. But even when they are in engineering college, uh, women don't usually think about what will I do. They're there because it seems like a good thing to do for many of them. So what I wanted to do was to give role models for girls. And I wanted those role models to be not only the most successful, but rather women engineers who have actually gone through a lot of things in their lives, and that the career is not cast in stone. It's a changing thing. You may go into an engineering job, but then it may morph into something else down the road. So what I wanted to do was to tell the stories of all these women, but I also wanted, to find a way to take any revenue that might come from this book and apply it to something for girls' education. So at the very beginning, I set it up with the publisher that all the royalties will go to the Rotary Club Madras East.
Okay.
And so we have this thing where any royalties that come in just go straight into it, and they're all earmarked for programs for girls. Not at the college level, but rather, before then, before you can get to college, how can we support girls who are in need of, say, books or anything else like that. So
Completing engineering degree in 1971, you moved to the US around 76, 75 at the time.
No. So I graduated in 71.
Okay.
And then I went to work at Electronic Corporation of India Limited for a few years.
Okay.
So I was a technical officer working on ultrasonic instruments.
Okay.
And then I got married.
Okay.
I had a baby.
Okay.
And in 78, my husband decided to come to the US for his graduate studies.
Okay.
And so at this time, once my daughter came along, I stopped working. I stayed home to take care of her.
Okay.
And then so my daughter and I, we tagged along. We came to Pittsburgh. And once my daughter was about 3.5 and can go to preschool, I started my graduate studies.
Okay.
And so in 85, I graduated with my PhD in operations management, and we had just moved to the Bay Area, and I found a job in a company as a software engineer. I used my operations management background to write algorithms for tracking semiconductor manufacturing operations.
Okay.
As you know, the fabrication of ICs is a very involved process, has hundreds and hundreds of steps. And how do we optimize these steps in order to get the best from all the very expensive equipment you have on the fab floor? And so that was my job.
So you actually started doing your PhD from Tepper School, Carnegie Mellon, from 80 to 85 after you had a baby, right? So if I really want to talk about that. So many women, not only women, but men, even myself, if you think about it. So if I have a baby in the future and going for post graduation or PhD, it's a big deal thinking about it. So how did you manage that? Please share some light on it.
So as I said, I stayed home until my daughter was 3.5, and that was I don't know. Don't want to call it a conscious decision. A lot of things I've done, were not very conscious. I just did what I had to do, if you will. But I stayed home. I took care of her, and I didn't think that I had energy for anything else. It's the family, it's the baby. But when she was ready to go to preschool, we, talked about it, and we said, yeah, if you want to do PhD, you should do. So that's that support aspect that I'm talking about. You can't just do it, right? You have to have the support of your husband who says, yes, let's do it. You go do it, right? And so it was one of those things where a PhD program affords you that flexibility. It's not like, you know, a very highly intensive MBA program, for example. I couldn't have done that, I don't think. But PhD program, you pretty much set your hours. And if you are a person who is self-motivated, which I am, you'll do it. And it's a matter of, you know, dividing your time between your family and your education. And so I think that it can be done. And I want to say, all of us are not alike.
Yeah.
Some of us are more emotional than others. And I would categorize myself as not as much emotional as some of the other people that I know. Some mothers really feel torn. They just can't think of being away from their babies, right? And I would say that don't fight it. If that's what you want to do, you should do it. You should just stay with your baby as long as they need you. And then if you decide you want to do something else, do it. But just because everybody is doing it, don't do it. That's my point. We are all not alike. We are all very, very different from each other. And for me, I really am a person who gets satisfaction from doing what I do. And for me, it's not enough to see that my baby is doing well or my kids are doing well. It's what I do, how I feel, right? So I am very different from somebody else for whom the baby and the child and kids, they are everything. And I say there's nothing wrong with it. People shouldn't think that just because somebody else is doing something, they have to go do that. No, you are unique. Just go do what makes you happy, right?
Awesome.
That's my philosophy. The first job that I had, I stayed until 2001.
Okay.
All the way from 1985. I stayed. It's a very, popular thing in the Silicon Valley, right? People shift jobs every 2 years, maybe every 5 years. No, I don't know. There's something in me about loyalty. I'm very loyal to the people, and that extends to my team, my company. I stayed there until 2001, and then did my consulting for 2 years, which is 2003. So this company was formed in 2003, and I stayed in retail solutions until the end of 2016, when all of us co-founders retired because we were all over 60 and brought in a new management. And that was the time when I said, okay, what am I going to do with my life now that I am retired? And so I got in touch with a professor in Carnegie Mellon, Silicon Valley. And, I said, hey, I would love to come and work with you. I don't want to do, teaching or anything, but I would like to be a mentor and perhaps a guide for all your projects, because this professor that I am engaged with is somebody who does a lot of practical things as well as part of his course on innovation and entrepreneurship. So that's kind of how I got into what I'm doing today, which is part-time. And by this time I have had grandkids, so I said I have to spend time with my grandkids. So I divide my time between my grandkids, this part-time job, and then all the rest of the time goes to my alumni activities, which is CEG and CMU.
Since I'm living in the Bay Area, I know what CEGAANA does and what you guys and other people are doing. So for a new audience, please tell what CEGAANA is and what you guys are doing and what you guys are up to.
Yeah, sure. CEGAANA is the CEG Alumni of North America. So it's a chapter of Alumni Association. And
so this picture is taken from one of the. This picture is taken from one of the CEGAANA meetings, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was a 2017 annual event for CEGAANA.
Okay.
So our aim is to bring together the alumni in the North America to benefit the alumni living in North America, as well as the school and also the students. So it's a three-pronged focus, if you will. And so what we do is we do a lot of events for alumni. And in fact, it's one of those events that I met you first, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So we do events, just, networking, perhaps educational, and we also started thinking about how to give to the CEG, and we thought scholarship might be one way to do it for needy students. So we started that program. And then we also, in the last year, we said, let's see how we can help the students. So we set up this mentorship program, in association with the AACEG, the main body. And we conduct a number of webinars. We have signed up a number of mentors who actually can be reached out to by the students. So we have this thing of registration of mentees, registration of mentors, put them together. So there's a one-on-one mentoring that goes on as well. So we continue to expand that program. And then, the one that I'm currently involved in is called the CEG Betterment. We conducted a survey of students and we said, what needs to be better in CEG? And about 750 students answered the survey, and we got, focused areas where we should be looking at. And one of them was campus cleanliness, and the current dean of CEG just jumped in and started looking at it and seeing how that can be made better. We have one on English communication skills for those who come from Tamil medium is hard. I am one of those who came from a Tamil medium, so I kind of understand what those who came from Tamil medium go through. It's a website called Ask a CEGN.
Okay.
So you can go there and find out all about this. We also, post often on, forums like CEGAM. And we are also in touch with many of the mentees who started in this program, and they tend to pass along, the information to other students. So that's kind of how it's done.
Congratulations for, being selected as the notable alumni from CEG in 2020. Congratulations. So as I told you, I typically end my interview with, if you had to look back at your life and if you had to dedicate your success to, one or two people, who that would be?
If I were to look back upon my life, the people that I really want to acknowledge are just not one or two. So, but I want to say first, it's my dad, right? My father brought us up in a way that we could go do anything we want. And that is so precious. And I would encourage all dads to be that way. But then there are all these educators, and I can't just name one. I have to go all the way back to my high school, where I had tremendously talented teachers who didn't think about anything else but their students, and they encouraged them and they gave them everything that they need in their lives. So I have so many teachers from St. Joseph's Girls High School in Madurai, and then of course College of Engineering, Guindy, where I think our principal, Hegde, was really very supportive of girls. He really helped them in their lives in the college. So that, and I had wonderful lecturers as well, all the way from second year, first year, chemistry and physics teachers, just gems, if you will. And then obviously Carnegie Mellon University, where my professor, who was my thesis advisor, Gerald Thompson, such a great professor who worked with me, who encouraged me, who looked at me and said, she's not like all the other graduate students. She has a daughter and she has a home life, and he accommodated everything for me, my flexibility for me. And then of course, my CEO, John Gulliman, who became a mentor to me without me explicitly acknowledging that. There are such people, you know, they just look out for you and they know what you're capable of and they move you along.
Yes,
My
please.
husband.
Yep.
Without his help in my life, I couldn't have done anything. So, there.
I have one last picture to show you.
Oh, this was taken at my daughter's wedding. It was, taking place in Carmel Beach. That's
Okay.
where they wanted the wedding. So you see my son-in-law there,
Okay.
and it's a mixed family. So he has a Italian background, and my grandkids love idli and dosa as much as they do spaghetti.
Wow.
So that's that picture. Yeah.
So thanks a lot for whatever you have done so far and whatever you are currently doing, whatever you are up to in the future. So please keep inspiring us, people like me. I always derive energy from you. So please be the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Hari. I draw my inspiration from people like you. So thank you.
I'm Nalini Uhrig. I graduated from Guindy Engineering College back in 1970. I was the last of the integrated batch. And if I recall statistics, at the time the school was 175 years old, and I was the 19th female that graduated. My classmates were Shantha, Prema, Rima, and myself. All four of us were 1970 graduates. It was quite an experience studying at Guindy Engineering College for me, because I was the first one to actually look for a hostel. I was not staying with my parents. I did not have relatives locally where I could stay with and just come every day. I had to look for a hostel, and the wonderful administration at the time found me a place at Presidency College, which was somewhere on Santhome Road. I was the first female to be married before I graduated Guindy Engineering as well, and I ended up graduating and taking my final exams as a pregnant woman as well. So my daughter's birthday and my graduation year happened to be all the same year. So this year I celebrated my 50th year, and my older daughter's 50 this year. I still stuck with it. I enjoyed my classes. I enjoyed the challenges. I fought sometimes. I was given civil engineering as a major. I had to go to Hegde's house, have breakfast with him a couple of times, insist that I didn't even allow my father to make my choices. How could my principal make my choices when my interest was in electronics? So he finally decided after 3 weeks that I could be given electronics and telecommunications as my major. So that's how come I got to graduate Guindy Engineering College as an electronics and telecommunications major. If you had good logic and you had a few good professors, you really did have someone who listened to you and someone who helped solve problems. That's basically how I worked out my issues. But it was really nice because as the years progressed, more women joined, and there were more women coming from hostels. So we had quite a number by the time I graduated. There were almost 9 or 11 of us coming from Women's Polytechnic Hostel to Guindy Engineering College to study. It was quite an exciting time.
Hi, this is S. Radha from the batch of 1971 from the College of Engineering, Guindy. It has been almost 5 decades since I left the campus. In this time, I have realized that true learning happens not just in the classroom, but also beyond it, with your peers, mentors, and the network that you'll forge here. These lessons will stand you in good stead for the rest of your life. When I look back, I feel nostalgic and grateful to CEG for what it imbued me with, namely confidence and access to equal opportunities. Trust me, these attributes have served me well in my professional as well as personal life. They have helped me tackle a lot of situations and solve issues calmly and compassionately. And I have never felt unequal to taking on any challenge. I wish all of you the best of luck and success in your future endeavors, and I'm happy to share this message with you. Thank you.
I'm Kalpa Gopal, student of College of Engineering, Guindy, from 1964 to 69. We were a handful of girls in the entire campus, and it was very intimidating experience then. 250 years old college, the majestic dome as we enter is a mesmerizing feeling. We were in the 5 years integrated course, though initially the feeling was, how am I going to go through this 5 years? It just flew away. We were the first batch in electronics and telecommunication, but 2 years of rigorous training in all branches of engineering gave us a great foundation. It was really nice to read about the great achievements of my predecessor in the Roots and Wings written by Shantha. We are really proud of our college. It is a memorable experience. Thank you.
I am Indira Premkumar, class of 1966, Electrical Engineering, period of study 1963-1966. College of Engineering Guindy, in short CEG, means a lot to me, coming from a middle class family. It gave me a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. My schooling and BSc degree in college were only for women, and the co-education study here taught me caring and helpful fellow students and staff all through my studies. Soon after graduation, I got placement as a lecturer at Women's Polytechnic, Taramani, Chennai, and reached the highest post as a principal within 25 years due to my dedicated service of 34 years under Technical Education Department. During my tenure as the principal at Women's Polytechnic Madurai, I could do service to rural people under Community Polytechnic scheme funded by Central. Thanks to Dr.Shantha Mohan for bringing out my life story online during 2017 and later in her wonderful book Roots and Wings about the inspiring stories of 29 Indian women in engineering from CEG during 2018. My younger sister Shantha Unnikrishnan one among them. This enabled renewing contacts with old friends. I watched the first 2 episodes of Mr. Hariharan about Indu Varadarajan and VP Gautam with so much interest. They are very young, having a promising future. My wishes to all of them. We achieved many things during our service time, and Shantha Mohan has brought out these achievements nicely in her book. These were possible only due to my course of study at College of Engineering Guindy. Thanks for giving me a chance to share my thoughts about CEG after 54 years. Thank you.